Welcome to Braindrop by VCOM Solutions. Each episode, we talk to IT leaders and experts, explore recent projects, and learn from their triumphs and challenges. We hope today's episode provides you with a unique window into the world of IT, where creativity meets problem solving and technology drives businesses forward. I'm your host, Jethro Castillo. Now let's drop into today's conversation. Today on Braindrop by VCOM Solutions, I am joined by Rob Taylor, the Director of IT at Sight and Sound Theaters, a storytelling company that has expanded operations to 2 live theater venues, a streaming platform, and feature films focused on Christian messages, serving over 30 million people and offering their product to over 175 countries all over the world. Rob is a seasoned IT leader, showing that with the right perspective, creative people, and good systems, any issue can be solved, efficiency gained, and process streamlined. Rob, thanks for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we talked a little bit before this podcast started, and we're going to talk a lot about tech and IT. But obviously, life does not just revolve around our work. Life does not revolve around IT or tech. So other than your job and technology, what kind of fills your life?
Predominantly family, I think. We have 3 kids, my wife and I. Been married 29 years this year.
Oh.
And so, 2 kids in college, and our youngest daughter is in 10th grade. So,
All right. So
pretty full schedule for the most part.
yeah. Well, until 2 years from now, right? Where you're an empty nester, and then suddenly you're a free bird.
At some level.
Yeah. You mentioned that you were from New Zealand.
I grew up in New Zealand. Didn't actually fly until literally 3 months before I then left the country when I was 24 and flew to the UK. So I kind of didn't fly until I was 23 and 9 months. And then 3 months later, got on a plane and did 26 hours of flying to get to the UK.
That's right. I have not been to that part of the world, so I don't actually know how long flights are from there, but 26 hours, that feels like a record.
Well, yeah, that was back in the 80s.
Oh,
so, the hops were shorter. Now it's a little easier. Like if we would go back from here, we're on the east coast of the US. So to go back would be 5.5 hours over to LA and then 11.5 hours the other side of that to get to New Zealand.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Have you been back since? Well, I guess the better question is, how often are you able to go back home?
Yeah, with the family, not as often as, we'd like. Obviously, just from the financial perspective, it's quite pricey to fly 5 of us there.
Yeah.
We were back as a family in 2014.
Okay. So it's been a while. Do you miss it?
Yeah.
It's a kind of a weird question, but do you miss it?
Yeah, I've lived, including the US, I've lived in 4 countries now, and I got to say I miss pieces of each of them.
Yeah.
There are parts about New Zealand that I miss, but yeah, it's one of those things. I think in my mind anyway, for me as a traveler, you make home where you are.
Yeah.
And there's no such thing as a perfect country.
100%.
As much as I love things about New Zealand, there's things about New Zealand that aggravate me. So yeah, and that's true of everywhere, I think, and you just got to find your peace.
Yeah, 100. I love that answer. 100. Well, okay, so how exactly did you get started in IT? Did you start in New Zealand? Was it when you moved to the UK?
Well, funnily enough, when I moved to the UK, I was working for DHL, which is the courier company. And I ended up with that company running the ground operations department at Heathrow Airport. And that was a large office, so it was about 600 employees and basically what is their UK HQ. And I actually ended up, before I got married, dating a girl who was part of the IT team there. And that was really kind of my earliest exposure to the world of IT, and I really sort of gained an interest from just being in that environment, hanging out with her kind of thing, and being around the computers and seeing what was going on. That was a Unix based environment, and DHL were pretty progressive at the time. That was really pre the internet, but DHL over time actually built its own kind of version of the internet. It was really its own intranet, but it was global. Because as a company, they were in, I want to say like 160 countries back then, even in the 80s. So that was really where it started. And then after that, I ended up meeting the girl who is my wife in the UK there as well. She worked for DHL. And after we got married, we lived in Greece for a couple of years. So we lived in Athens, and then came here to the States in '98. And after coming here, we moved to where her parents were, which is just outside of DC, and just recognized that there was a fairly strong tech industry in the Washington, DC area, kind of becoming a little bit like a East Coast version of, Silicon Valley. And so, decided to actually, what I ended up doing was doing a 2-week boot camp. That was a deeply intensive drop into the Microsoft world. And coming out of that boot camp, got certified with Microsoft and have been in IT ever since. So, yeah.
So you could say kind of that love brought you to IT, kind of.
Yeah, in a roundabout way. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, what's your favorite part about working in IT all these years?
I think the biggest thing for me, and it's maybe a little unusual, is I'm a little bit of an anomaly in the sense that I love people as well. So, the part that really gets me the most energized is just working with people to really understand and do some of the bridging that's needed between people who are like, hey, I need a solution to do X. And then, the tech team who's sitting on the other hand going, well, we need a little more detail than just X. And then, that back and forth to basically probe with the right questions so that the folks who think they want to, we want a solution to do X. Okay, well, can you help me understand what needs to be in place in order for X to actually be successful? Those kinds of questions to really unpack, is what you think you want actually what you want, or is what you think you want actually something different, and we need to explore alternative ways to get you there? And then pivoting and working with the tech teams to really unpack, okay, how can we do that? What's the tech stack? What's the approach? And be that bridge between the two worlds, as it were. I really enjoy that.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it kind of takes that bridging for this to be effective, right? Because if you're a business person with no tech knowledge and you want things done, you don't really understand the scope or the capacity. And if you're a tech person, let's generalize here, sometimes you don't have the words to communicate in a business sense exactly what you were trying to do, and then it just gets lost in translation. And so having that sort of, I like how you said anomaly, because it's a very particular set where you need to have that knowledge. We also need to know how to express and explain that knowledge in a clear way so that things can happen. So
yeah, I say a lot that I think the key thing is delivery. It's very much it's an art form, how to deliver you don't want to say no, but how to deliver a no in a different way.
Right. No, exactly.
Instead of a no, it's like, okay, so what else could we explore? What else could we go after? And it's the art of I guess to some degree pedantics, but it's really just the art of communication.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is an art, truly. And it's kind of a dance at the same time, right? Because it always depends on how the other person likes to receive communication as well, right? So it's being able to know your audience at the same time. So when it comes to IT and being able to deliver that information, you need to have that knowledge. And the thing about IT compared to any other department industry is that knowledge evolves daily. What is true today might not be true literally tomorrow. And we're seeing that with kind of AI, especially. Well, AI has been around for a while, generative AI, and everything that's coming into play with that. So with that being said, how do you kind of keep up to date with something that could change tomorrow, which is tech?
Yes. Yeah, I think you're very much touching on one of the things that in the industry is an ongoing conversation. I think for me at least, there are multiple sources. So because of my interest and my position in IT, I tend to just naturally lean towards any articles that I see on any platform that are tech related. And it doesn't mean that there has to be a glaring, IT or technology headline. It's more, as you've said, generative AI is obviously very much the hot topic in similar ways to how Kubernetes was a few years ago. And so it's really unpacking and just really paying attention to any articles that are talking about how are folks doing stuff, what business solutions are getting solved, and how are they implementing those kinds of solutions to assist. So for me, it's just a lot of reading. It's a lot of keeping up with, whether it's Reddit or I don't know. There are just so many forums you can keep up on. Gartner's putting out articles all the time. I think the greatest challenge we have today is just the overwhelming volumes of data that we can consume. And in my world, at least, I very much drop back into hoping that, the Holy Spirit can help me with some of what I need to be spending time on. And I very, very much rely on my faith in terms of like, okay, Father, there's a whole lot of stuff out there that can become rabbit trails and I can end up spending time on, but I really want to spend time on things that are meaningful, that I can glean benefit from, and that I can bring that benefit to others in my role. So it's a strange cross-pollination, I'm sure, for the IT world.
No, but it's an interesting point you make, right? So much information, we have access to so much information, so much data. That's not the issue. The issue is being able to sort that and filter that and find the right things that are relevant to you. And to this day, I'm still trying to figure that best curation of the things I want to see. And I think AI helps with that, or the algorithm, if you will. They're like, oh, we only want to show you what you want to see. But even then, it's like, what if it's only that, then I won't know what I'm not, what it's not giving me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it's that balance that we're trying to find. You do a lot of reading, and we talked a lot about the hot topic of generative AI. But in addition to that, what kind of excites you about IT and tech? But at the same time, what kind of gives you pause or makes you worry a little bit?
I think cybersecurity is always that thing that you're aware of in any kind of leadership role. You're very aware of the impacts that a company being without tech for even an hour or two could have. And so you're very, very conscious of, trying to stay up as up to date as we can be around whether it's pen testing, penetration testing, and just all things cyber security focused. I wouldn't say it worries me, but I'm conscious of it. Let me put it that way. I don't lose sleep over it, but at the same time, I am very aware of it.
Right.
On the other side, I would say the thing that gets me the most interested is, and I think it's a multi-layered reality. Today, I would say it's the more recent sort of evolution of low code, no code.
Yeah.
And I think, from my own, again, just from my perspective, the way I've seen this play out, I was at Gartner's Symposium in 2019 in Orlando, and it was kind of starting to become the hot topic of, along with Kubernetes and other things. And there was already some talk about AI even back then. But one of the things that really struck me was that a lot of low code, no code initially was released as, here's these tools that we can put in the hands of the end user, and all of a sudden it's going to eliminate work for the back end guys. And the dev team won't be carrying as much load, and users can actually start to build some of these things. And it's like, let's see how that plays out. And I think so many things in the tech world and the industry evolve like that they might be released as this great new, flashbang thing. But what I've seen happen with the low code, no code is it seems like we're starting to get on a better even keel to where you have to be smart about what layers and elements of low code, no code you truly put in the hands of the end user in order to find the right balance of efficiencies that they're gaining versus cluttering up their world. And I think I've started to see, at least I feel like, a better understanding from the industry to say, hey, there are specific spaces and opportunities where low code, no code can truly be beneficial. And there are other areas where it might actually be detrimental. So let's start to be more intentional about where we're putting these things. And I think with technology, that's, to me, that's one of the greatest things that we're always challenged with is the latest, greatest ideas can start running down the road too quickly. And I think, I'll just call it out. Elon Musk and other leaders were already talking about AI the moment we had the big ChatGPT release and, all of these big tools suddenly became available to the public. They were very quick to speak up and say, like, guys, time out. Like, are we really weighing the responsibility of just making this broadly available? Because, there are concerns. There are concerns with what the wrong players will do with AI. And I think there needs to be a weighing of that, the responsibility then, not just go, oh, let's throw it out there and anybody can get it. I would put it in the same bucket as who was it? There was some guy who designed that gun that can be 3D printed. And then he posted the plans and everything online. And of course the FBI or somebody was like, we're going to take that down.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, it was downloaded X number of thousand times. And it's like, okay, somewhere in the middle. It's hard because I think you bring up that word regulation at some level in the midst of that journey. And it's hard, I think, to know how to, I wouldn't even say regulate, but I would say govern the speed at which technology is moving.
Yeah.
Sorry, long answer, by the way. I apologize.
No, I have a few thoughts on that. Right? Someone I guess once told me, they're like, even if you had unlimited money, time, and resources, our biggest limiting factor is our ability, our capacity, if you will, for change. That you can have all the resources, but still, like, and this is in line with what you said, right? Like, technology might be running too fast for us before we actually figure out what exactly we need. And it's kind of this shift, right? No matter what, even if we had infinite resources, we still need to prioritize and go, okay, instead of seeing tech and then running with tech, let's figure out what our problems are and see what tech solution can solve that specific business problem. And going into that direction, you no longer chase that shiny object. You only focus on what you need and take as you need. And I think, like you said, from a governance perspective, from a bigger perspective, when technology is moving this fast, we shouldn't just be like, all right, everyone, let me use low code, no code. All right, everyone, let's just use low code, no code in everything now. Let's not have that nuance. And then suddenly, like you said, there are times when that would be a detriment, whether that's because it's an environment that needs complicated code, or whether it's you are literally offsetting a whole team who used to do this with code and suddenly you're replacing them with a low code, no code. It can lead to resistance in change. And so I just like that you brought that up, just because it's the next greatest thing, whether it's low code, no code, whether it's AI, we should focus first on the people of the business and the business needs before deciding what tech we should bring in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into now. I kind of introduced your team a little bit and your company, but I want to give you the space to do that. So tell me about your IT team and environment, how long you've been there, how many team members you have, and ultimately, what do you do as an organization, and what does your team do for the organization?
Sure. So we have a team of 18 internally, and so we have 2 physical locations, one here in Pennsylvania and one in Missouri. And we have 3 on the IT team in Missouri, and then the bulk of the others are here in PA, although we do have 1, 2, 3 fully remote employees. So we actually have a Java programmer who lives in Virginia. She's been with us for over, at least over 10 years. So we as a team are basically split predominantly, I think it's 8 on what we would call our development team. So we do our own software development. We basically recognized as a company that there was benefit in us actually writing certain applications. And back to your point a minute ago, we're very selective around what we do build and what we don't. I think for us, we're always talking about right sizing as an organization. We're a mid-sized enterprise. We're not an IBM. We're not global enterprise. But we want global enterprise capabilities. That's always the juggle. But as a team, the other half of the team then is split really between systems administrators and help desk. So we do have an internal help desk that we run. Overall, I've been here 8.5 years. So I came in August of 2015. And the team has definitely expanded in that time. I think I came in and the team was either 10 or 9, I think, at the time. And as a theater organization, like, we don't actually as a team have a lot to do with the shows that we put on. There are a lot of technological elements to the shows that we put in, that we produce as a company. But our IT team essentially is focused on the corporate services, if you like. So we keep all the systems within the organization running. We keep them updated. We keep them functioning. We keep, any new solutions that people are looking for, whether it's software or additional hardware peripherals, that kind of thing. All of the print functionality, our firewalls, all the servers. We recently just upgraded, and so we have single mode fiber run within most of our building environment. So we have a lot of large media files that are used as part of our shows, and so we have to work with our media team to manage their storage. We have over a petabyte of media storage today that is on-prem. And so, just maintaining backups of that. Thankfully, because we have a geographically separated site between us and Pennsylvania and Branson, Missouri, we're able to use them as our natural colo. So we have a natural geographically separated place to back up to. So we don't have to pay for a data center somewhere, which is kind of nice. So we look after all things communication for the company. So telephony solutions, we're currently using Call Tower, which is a VoIP telephony solution. I think from that point of view, I would say our team is we may not be bleeding edge, and I got to be honest, I don't want to be bleeding edge, but I would say we're cutting edge for an organization of our size. We have, I think it's close to 850 employees today, and we're fully Windows 10 deployed, moving towards Windows 11 for most of our PCs. We are a mixed environment. We have close to 100 Macs in the environment, so definitely just working in that multifaceted world. I think we're about as up to date as you want to be without getting ahead of yourself.
You said what, 850-ish employees, and 18 of you are taking care of 850 employees. It's always IT, right? It's always lean and mean, always.
Yeah, that is real. I mean, that's actually, it's funny you touch on it because it is a real conversation we're having at the moment. Is just really looking at our team size, and I try to come into each year with some kind of a focus, and the focus coming into 24 this year was feeling the need for bench strength.
Oh.
So I try to put words around what is the focus for the year, and this year's focus is definitely bench strength. So at the moment we're kind of reviewing our teams and doing recalibration work just to determine with the workload that we're currently experiencing, should we be expanding the team and adding to staff.
Every IT person I've ever asked is like, give us more people, give us more resources. That's what we want.
Oh yes. Well, I can imagine.
What's a recent IT project? Maybe it's not recent. What's a IT project you took on that you're especially proud of, or you think made a lot of significant impact?
Oh, there's been a few. The team's just done some. Yeah, we've got a crazy, amazing team, and we've done some significant projects. I can probably think of a couple, honestly. Like 2 years ago, we had a Cisco on-prem phone solution in place, and so it was serving both us here in PA and the folks in Branson as well. And we walked through a project with a telephony integrator and decided on the product called Call Tower, which is full SaaS solution. And then we fully deployed that solution in a 4-month implementation cycle. And the day after the whole team came in basically on Memorial Day, and that's when we made the switch. So we literally went through and pulled all the Cisco phones off people's desks. And we had done a great job of communicating out what the options were with the new system. And so we were either switching out for hardware, a new phone on the desk, or if people chose not a phone, just a headset, switching all that out. We did all that on Memorial Day, and the system stood up. And basically the next day we got a total of 11 help desks tickets, and probably half of those were just resetting a password. So it was one of those beautiful deployments that was just, for the most part, seamless for the company. Like the company just was not disrupted, and business went on as usual, and it would made a, sweeping company-wide system change. Yeah. So that was pretty special.
What did you do to ensure that it went as smoothly as it did?
Communication. Yeah, no, and I think you touch on a point that I think is the key of all projects, right? It is over communicating. we were very blessed and fortunate that the guy that we got on the call tower side as a project manager was just stellar. Like his name was Andy, and he's still kind of referred to as the gold standard of project manager from a vendor side. But yeah, he was just incredible. Stayed on point, really understood, his system and what he was bringing to the party. And what that allowed us to do internally was to really, really communicate well with the internal teams. And like I say, we had, down the hallway on each side of the building, we had stacks of systems that we had already vetted with the teams. We'd gone through each individual team and had the conversation almost one-to-one with the people, saying, hey, here's what's coming. Here's what you have today. Here are the options of what you might have tomorrow. And we were able to, with that solution, the fact that it's VoIP and it's a SaaS solution basically meant that our overhead costs for the solution overall were going to come down.
Yeah.
So we saved money on the solution overall, but then we also, I want to say, I might be off with the numbers, but I want to say we removed something close to 100 desk phones.
Wow.
So we didn't have to have that hardware, replaced. And instead we gave options of headsets to people, or Bluetooth headset, or, just different things that they could do. And Call Tower is fully integrated with Teams. So we're actually a Microsoft Teams shop. And what we've found is people just, they do calls through Teams, whether, they've got a laptop or they've got a desktop with a webcam. And our telephony sort of collaboration space has really, it's gone up a notch in terms of, how easy it is to just pull a couple of folks onto a call and jump into a quick video call and quickly collaborate on and get an answer where, otherwise you might have to pick up a handset. Oh, no, they're on the phone. Oh, I'm stuck. So it just changed the game in so many different ways. People can respond if you call them. They can respond in a quick, IM and just say, hey, I'm on the phone. What do you need? All of those layers just help with teams being able to get answers quicker and therefore move the needle.
So not only did you cut costs, and not only did you kind of improve the way everyone communicated, you did it in a way that people were able to comfortably transition from something they were used to for years and years and years to something pretty substantially different.
Yes.
I can only imagine then that with that communication, that over communication, it was also kind of all right, like here's what's changing. Here's how it can help you and make your life easier. And I think that's kind of that trick, right? That's what makes people go, oh, I can do that now. Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in. So,
yeah, I think the education around technology is, in my mind, it's one of the hardest things of change management. You talked earlier, you brought up the whole thing of change, and I think the vast majority of the population are change adverse at some level. And specifically when it comes to technology, right? Because I think the challenges we get with the technology, whether it's the phone or whatever it is, you get comfortable, and you're like, oh, now I finally got my head wrapped around how this works. And then of course there's an update, and it's like, So it is very much, I think, for me anyway, the technology industry is very much about helping come alongside the change management journey that people are on, and doing our best job at educating in order for them to truly understand what the benefits are. Because I think once people know what the benefits are, buy-in is easy.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, they're like, oh, what do you mean? I can suddenly do this and I can't today. I can do those things tomorrow. Heck yes, let's get to tomorrow. But the education and that sort of clarity, and I think a lot of that is coming alongside them first to fully understand and sort of shadow their work and understand their workflow, and see if we can identify from an IT point of view what the disruptors are that they're sort of, and the pain points are that they're living with today. And then from there, we can start to, bring the education. We were very fortunate right after COVID, one of our internal supervisors on another team altogether actually really caught on to Microsoft Teams, and they started to implement it strongly within their own department. And what literally happened was there was an evolution of, we as IT had always been looking and hoping for the possibility of having a technical trainer, but we just never could find, we just didn't find a way bandwidth-wise and adding to stuff. But what happened is this guy, John, basically made himself so apparently the right person for the job that it was just a seamless transition to create a job for a technical trainer and bring him in. And yeah, over the last couple of years, I would say he's made some of the most significant impact to the company that we've seen, mainly around people fully understanding and then starting to use products that we're already paying for. I think that's a bit of a gap that a lot of companies live with, where we can deploy solutions and we suddenly start paying that subscription, but are people using 10% of it, 20%, 30%, or are they actually getting the benefit of, hey, the 60% of the solution can truly transform your workflow.
Yeah.
And it's that education gap, I think, that can be a hindrance.
Oh, yeah, I love that so much. And this is the thing about tech, right? Is yes, we can introduce tech as solutions, but at the end of the day, there's still a learning curve for anything that we implement, right? And so, so often I see people, even individuals, we get the next piece of tech, and before I've even maximized the potential of this piece of tech, I'm on to the next one. So I have 3 items where I probably could have still done it really well with the first item had I known all of its capabilities and its functions. And so having somebody to train, I think is, I'm smiling because it feels like a no-brainer, but it's almost funny how little I see that intentionality of education and training, and really getting the most you can out of every single tool. That's similar to that right sizing, right? Like, let's make sure the tools we already have can't already solve the problems that we do have before adding another thing to our tech stack.
Amen. Yes.
Yeah.
Speak my language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that project seemed to work pretty smoothly. And so maybe the next question won't have anything to do with that project. And I'll just kind of ask it generally. What were some learning moments in your career, some projects that didn't go as well, and or things that you implemented that didn't go as well? And what did you learn from those experiences that you still take with you today?
Yeah, sure. There's definitely been a few.
Good.
I can think back to when I first came in. I was introduced pretty quickly to an ongoing project that was already underway, that was related to our website at the time, and there was a lot of progressive thinking around running towards it, and to some degree, definitely there was a need. There was no question there. Our e-commerce reality at the time was that we had, I think it was something close to 14 pages that you would have to go through, because you had to create a profile, and just the way that the website was structured meant that you had lots of pages to walk through to complete an e-com transaction. And so I think the initial intent was, hey, we want to hone that down, trim it down so that we can actually increase just the experience for the user. I would probably just go back to everything we've already talked about to some degree. Like, what I learned out of the struggle of a couple of those types of projects was that you can never be overly prepared. Like, preparation is, Lord, I don't even know what percentage to give it, but it's 95% of the project. Like, if you've got to take time to truly identify who the stakeholders are. Then you've got to be willing to build in the time to have the conversations with them around understanding their workflow, understanding their actual needs. Because to your point, as a company, our people understand our workflows and our needs better than anybody. So bringing a consultant or a vendor in to try and understand that many times is, I think there can be a gap there where companies don't necessarily always recognize the strengths that their internal people carry. And so for us, I think what we've really learned is our internal expertise is high, and we have people who are just great at what they do. And they understand the intricacies of the workflow and the intricacies of our own internal processes. And if we lean on them first really well to understand and unpack what are the processes today, what could we do to improve those processes, and do that exercise first before then, at the end of that journey, you start to then actually gather genuine requirements for, hey, we want a solution that can match this needed process. I think that part of the journey for me is the critical thing that makes up the rest of the project, because the actual outworking of a project can be fairly straightforward. You're always going to hit road bumps. So I think everybody's, sharing awareness at the start of a project with the whole team, every stakeholder included, just to say, hey, as we do this, we know things are going to bubble up as we continue through the process. Please don't think that at any point we've got every tiny thing pulled out and identified from day one. That's not going to be the case. So let's just, setting expectations is super important, I think, with teams around projects. And I mean, I would just acknowledge, like, I'm not a project manager. That's not one of my strengths. But I know people who have that high discipline level of intricate detail is something they just live on. They thrive on knowing intricate detail and then keeping track of that. And in turn, being able to keep people accountable relative to the different things that have been committed to. And so, I think identifying and having key project managers who have that as a natural gifting, in my mind, is again, that would be one of the keys. But I think if you can do that preparation work, set great expectations, and then have the right people in the right seat around the table, I think you can, there's not many projects that you can't push your way through and really come to a great solution.
Right. And I really love that one of the things that you did learn or have learned is that you can't do it on your own. Like, you need to utilize a team and be able to let go of that ego, right? And be like, okay, I can't do this really well. Let's find a really good project manager who can do that really well, so that the thing that we want to do can happen more smoothly, right? It's having that vision and that awareness too. And so I really like that sort of answer. What sort of, we talked a lot about what you've learned in the past and some success stories. What are some goals and projects, whether personal or for your organization? What are some goals and projects moving forward?
We have several projects internally that we're looking at. I think for us, we're always aware of, I think, that gap around education, just ensuring that people are really getting the full benefit out of the products that we already pay for. I think that's kind of just an ongoing reality because, we have attrition as a company. We have new people coming in, other people leaving. So that's always an ongoing exercise, I feel like. I am pretty passionate about getting our team calibrated correctly. So very much passionate about getting, if we need add to staffs, going after that with the company and, pursuing getting the right balance of our team for the workload that we're dealing with. On the development side, we've got some ideas. We very much have the philosophy already, I think, established that as a development team, we want to be building things that give us competitive advantage. And for the most part, if there's a process or a functionality within a different department that can be solved by an off-the-shelf solution, then happy to have other people working on that and, adding features and supporting it and all that kind of thing. We don't want our internal dev team weighted down with tech debt that they don't need to be carrying. I don't know that I'm not probably calling out anything too specific, but I think predominantly overall, I think it's really about just enhancing the experience of our end users to ensure that they can have reliable, secure, well backed up solutions that allow them to do their jobs every day and do it, more and more efficiently as time goes on.
Right. Well, I have two more questions for you to kind of close this. The first is kind of a Christmas wish list question. And most guests actually struggle with this answer, which is a good sign. But if you could have anything you wanted to help you do your job better, what would it be?
That's a good question. Yeah, I think it would be bandwidth. I think it would be, and I think that's, aligns with, my theme for the year of bench strength. Yeah, I do really feel like we as a team, as you said, you called out the ratio, 850 people, 18 people on the IT team. I think we're always struggling at some level with being able to get out ahead of the needs and the things coming through our door rather than just being responsive.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard this, but the Gartner have this sort of philosophical approach that they've carried for many years towards IT, and it's kind of this pyramid with 3 layers in it. And it's basically the bottom layer, the largest layer is what they call run. And run means that, things are efficient, things are working, things are consistent, things are solid, people are having a good experience with their technology. Then you have the next layer up, which is once you've got run in place, then you're able to move to grow. And grow is when you're taking the company places they haven't gone yet, and you're expanding their education around the solutions, and you're enhancing, some of the tools that they've got available so that they can do more things. And so that's a smaller, because it's a pyramid, that's a smaller band, but it's significant. And then the optimal place that you get to, if run is consistent and still going, grow is starting to, make meaningful traction, then the top of the pyramid, the smallest triangle, is transform. And it's kind of that philosophical approach from a technology team within the company to try and move through that so that you're actually in a place where you're not only running, but you're growing the company. And then ideally, at some point, you're actually in a place where you're helping the company transform, which means you're taking ideas to the company to say, hey, we've found this technology, we know the company need, we're recognizing that no one's seen an alignment with anything yet. Here's an idea. IT are actually bringing this idea to the table because we see a business need. And that's the optimal sort of transform state. It's not something you live in day to day. I think it's more something that, once or twice a year, you might be able to bring a meaningful solution that, the company goes, oh my Lord, we didn't even know that existed.
Yeah.
Yes, win for IT. But yeah, I don't know if that helps, but.
No, I love that. I really like that answer for sure. The final question to close, and it's more just a kind of a soapbox moment. What are some of the greatest things or thoughts or pieces of advice that you've learned in your career that we didn't already talk about, or maybe we just rehashed what we've already talked about that you'd like to share with the audience to close?
I think the thing that's been ringing around me since we started is, and you kind of touched on it a minute ago actually, is it's kind of more the personal journey, I think, in the midst of anything we're doing, whether it's technology or podcasts or, whatever. It's that personal journey of self-awareness. I think for me, I'm getting up there. I'm not 20 anymore. And yeah, I think a lot of what I've learned over my time, whether it's in the industry or just in life in general, is that the more I can do to improve who I am and how I treat other people and what I expect from other people, the more I can do about that, the better I become in terms of being a meaningful member of our society. I think, in terms of young people, I would definitely exhort them to take a breath every now and again and be willing to look in the mirror, like be willing to just be honest with yourself around, hey, I do this really well, but over here, there's some stuff I'm not doing really well. And what can I do? Who can I go talk to? Who can help me to maybe start to work on this and do it a little better? I would say that's significant.
Yeah, and a really great reminder for me too. Once this call ends, I'm going to walk into the bathroom and stare at myself in the mirror and be like, what am I? Who am I right now? Well, I just wanted to say, Rob, thank you so much for your time. This was a really refreshing conversation. And I just wanted to point out that obviously I'm the host of this podcast, but I have found that you listen to me really well also. And kind of, you made this more of a conversation, which I really love. So I just wanted to say thank you for your time and your thoughts and your expertise. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
VCOM Solutions is here to help make your IT projects and day-to-day operations as easy and efficient as possible. If you'd like to see how VCOM can help your organization save time and money, request a demo at vcomsolutions.com/demo. Do you work in IT? Be a guest on Braindrop. Go to vcomsolutions.com/Braindrop guest to sign up. Thanks again for dropping in. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can find us on social media at VCOM Solutions. Until next time.